Hey folks, Studio here. Let's get real. Let's get super real. I have not made a video in a while. I do not have a good excuse. Sorry. That's all I got. Anyhow, I just got some news, so I'm gonna be running a game at SGDQ, which is Summer Games Done Quick, which is a speedrunning marathon, speedrunning being the process of playing video games as fast as you possibly can, abusing lots and lots of bugs. Don't worry, we got bugs. We're running Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. If you were a fan of the Oddworld series, then there are not many of you, and you should watch it because it's awesome. If you are not, you should watch it over in July, or not over, but in July, because it's going to be the bomb, and I'll release more deets about that. We might have something going on to try and get runners to the event, but we'll see about that. We'll see. Now, as for today's game, what are we going to be checking out? Some nerd. Yeah, we're checking out some nerd. Some nerd named J-Ree, because nerds own, and guess what? J-Ree's a really good support. A really fucking good Thresh. Now, I don't curse that often, but he's really good. Thresh is actually a very interesting character, because in the North American scene, we'll go over here, North American scene, he's started to pick up some steam. He's getting there. Muffin Cutie's played him. Maya has played him. It's getting there. He's a support that's relatively new. You see him every now and then. In Europe, he is first pick, first ban. Asia, one of the top characters of the game. Both Korea and China. FZZF. Hell yeah, he is good at Thresh. We're going to be looking at a guy named J-Ree, though. J-Ree is an alternate. He is not in an LCS team. European Challengers is amazing. I've been casting a lot of the most of the TSM European stuff because you have invitationals going on, and it has been really, really cool. Like, European casting is what I started out with, me and Panky back in the day, the Pankster. And we would cast, for 4PL in lots of European teams. Then eventually 4PL kind of became, not burdensome, but just hard to really manage to keep doing for me because I'd have to wake up at 4 a.m. on Saturdays and then try and maintain the rest of my life. But I ditched it, went over doing IPL stuff, doing TSM stuff, and with that, I really didn't cast Europe until recently again. And it's awesome. I love casting European matches. It's really, really cool. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody in the game because I think that, while a lot of these names are known, I think they just need more recognition. So Arane will be the jungler for alternate, J-Ree. The awesome support will be following Metalex, the AD carry, Pharrell Lord. You should recognize Pharrell Lord by now. But the mid laner and Kerp, a very chill top laner. For Meet Your Makers, we have Charu over on Karthus, Mackler on the Caitlyn, Libic on the support Taric, Mokate on Mundo, and Cuban on Shen. Now, I want to say this. Meet Your Makers actually won 2 best of 3s against Alternate. Alternate will win this game. But a lot of this game ends up being dependent on Thresh. I really just want to show how important Thresh is. I think Meet Your Makers has a really good chance of being an LCS team in Europe. Europe is pretty crazy, though, in that the teams are a lot closer in skill. North America, we have some pretty good skill divides. I mean, right now, there might actually be major differences between every single top 4 team. We'll see, but it's looking like there's at least some major differences between top 2 and number 3 and number 4. But Europe, there's a lot going on. It's a much more chaotic scene. I think a lot of it is because teams tend to have their unique styles. But let's go ahead and talk about what Thresh actually does. What does this prison man do? What is this Mr. Prison? So his first skill, Death Sends. This sends out the hook. This is the Blitzcrank hook. It's about a 0.5 second windup. Now, to put things in perspective, Blitzcrank's, I believe, is 0.25. So it comes out a lot slower. The animation really makes it obvious that he's going to be doing it. However, it moves a little bit faster than Blitzcrank's fist, and while it's not necessarily as wide, it's incredibly long. Thresh's hook will hit you after you think the projectile is gone. Now, really quickly, if you think you're going to have someone invade your red, and you're over on blue side or purple side if you're doing a 2v1 top lane, you can go ahead and put a ward over this wall. This is a very cool ward because it's relatively safe. You put it down here, even if they're there, they can't respond to it. If they're over here, you're getting your ass ganked. You are, ugh. But if you're over here, or if they're over here and you're over here, you're fine. and this actually lets Metal X and J-Re spot them doing the red buff and fight. And we're going to see Death Sentence in action. This is what it does. It CCs forever, 1.5 seconds. My god, that is a long CC. The Ignite comes down from J-Re. Q1 actually has to use Red Elixir, and they kind of switch things up. They decide, screw that, we don't really want a 2v1 top over on the side of Meet Your Makers. They want to go 2v2 bot lane, and, well, this is going to be really advantageous because J-Re and Metal X now get a bunch more experience and a bunch more gold. Now, one of the things you can do in lane is just try and freeze it and let a lot of creeps die and deny a lot of experience. What are J-Re and Metal X going to do? They're going to stay pushed forward, and there's an important reason for this. Thresh has different points of the lane where he will be at different levels of effectiveness in terms of Death Sentence. Just Death Sentence, the Q, the hook. For example, if you're over in the middle part of the lane, usually you can't be hiding in a brush. If you hide in this brush, for example, well, the other support can try and push you out. You're going to be near the enemy creep wave, so if you fight, you'll take damage. If you're in this bush, you're really far away from them, so you can maybe hit the support if he's camping over here, but the AD carry is going to be a hard target, and you want to hit the AD preferably, because he's the guy who does more damage, he's the guy you want to burst down. So, J-Re and Metal X, they push forward now. Now this is kind of twofold. One, they can't go for an all-in. Mackler and Limbic are underneath the turret. Two, they can actually pressure with auto attacks on J-Re as he does right there. He gets tower aggro for a second but backs away, and he's actually looking to do it a lot more. Just auto attack and back off. He cancels the animation when he's not confident though. And the other part is you can actually just use your Death Sentence, the Q, for harass. Just toss that thing down just to deal some damage and you're good. Now, what is a skill build on Thresh? First, you max out Death Sentence. That is a common build. The reason for this is Death Sentence scales very well. What I didn't mention is the passive effect. If you're auto-attacking with Death Sentence up, you get extra damage. And if you don't auto-attack, it passively builds up to a lot of extra damage. To compare damage right now, I mean, Tarek has 59 plus his passive, which is providing an extra 7 damage. So 63 damage, or actually 72, I believe, versus champions, which is pretty decent. Alright, I can go with that. Not 72. 73. Yeah. Well, Thresh, he gets an extra 8 damage base, so he's at 58, which is not very good, but he is ranged, and it goes up to 48. Now, this is level 1 Death Sentence. It scales with the souls, so you want to be picking up your souls as much as possible. Of course, not going into any risky positions for them, because they're just not worth it in that case. But 48 damage for free on an auto attack, that's 98 damage versus Tarek's 73. And Thresh is ranged, and Tarek does the most damage with auto attacks out of any support. More than Soraka, more than Janna, more than Leona. He does the most. He actually used to have one of the highest base ADs in the game. So Thresh has just aggressive auto attacks. You can go ahead and fight people as Thresh. Now Caitlyn's a bit harder to fight because of her range, but if Thresh does get an auto attack range, he can just start actively trading. Like, just watch Libic. He takes decent chunks of damage. That's a lot against a Tarek with armor for a support to be dealing with auto attacks. That is actually insane. Now, I don't really cover his other skills. He's got the Lantern Dark Passage, which you can toss down. It's a shield. We saw him use it earlier, just to block some damage from Metal X, and you can put it down and have it collect souls. So you don't want to use this too much for collecting souls. For example, if the Volibear was coming by, and he knew it by the time Volibear was over here, if he put down that Lantern and Volibear was back here, it would not be up. It's got a 22-second cooldown at level 1. That's incredibly high. He's also got Flay, and Flay is a knockback or push forward. We're going to go ahead and see it used quite a bit, but let me just show you a basic Thresh gank. We're going to be looking at it from this perspective, and then afterwards we're going to go ahead and look at it from Meet Your Maker's perspective. That was actually a double flip right there, where Libic got tossed twice. Mundo does show up, but he has to play a recovery game rather than going for the aggressive gank. And actually, both Arene and not Arene, but both Pharrell and Lord and Jari are about to teleport bot lane, but actually are forced to retreat. Now, I want to look at this again from their perspective, because ganks aren't just about yourself. Ganks are also about what the enemy team sees, how you set it up. They know there is an award there. They actually just spotted that it had not been placed. So let's go ahead and see. Look for the sign that Volibear is coming. There's a Lantern, and yeah, there's the enemy team, and there's the fight. So how much time do they have to react to that? Very little. And actually, had they awarded over here, it still wouldn't be that much to react. Because once a Lantern goes down, like, the only time you have to run away from Thresh is before he plants a Lantern. Because once he's moving towards you, he's moving towards you. You're not going to stop the guy from teleporting in. You can try and stun Thresh to stop him from moving, but still the point stands, you stun Thresh, you're actually wasting time where you're not fighting. Now Jerry is going to be going aggressive now. He wants to throw out random hooks because you throw out those random hooks, you deal a lot of damage, you almost kill Makler. There is a clear focus with that. Also, good job, Metalix. Watch how Jerry goes for this throw. He just kind of moves forward and tosses it out. He aims it at the enemy AD carry. He doesn't really try and predict all that much. He assumes that he's going to be staying in the area, and before people get too quickly, you can just kind of throw it at them. It doesn't have a huge rate or huge AoE, and if you miss, you miss. It sucks, but unlike Blitzcrank, you can still do stuff as Thresh. If Blitzcrank misses a hook, what does he have available? His Power Fist, which is melee range, and Overdrive, which is a utility spell. I guess his ultimate, which is just damage. But he doesn't have that much control. He doesn't have that, oh my god, you've been grabbed presence. Thresh still has a lot of stuff. He still has all of his CC, except with the Death Sense, but he still has the box, Flay. He has a Lantern for an escape for an AD carry. He has good options, and he can do a lot with that. Let's go ahead, just zoom past this retreating back to base segment. Look as Varus slowly catches up. He did it! He passed him! He passed him! Now, back to the laning phase. Okay, so they have the kill onto Caitlyn. They have a huge CS lead over Makler because a lot of CS got denied, and this lane has just not been going for them. So, what is Jerry going to do? He's going to keep playing aggressively. He is not a random hook kind of guy, and that's okay. But he is an auto-attack kind of guy. And right there, he trades with Makler. He actually gets the better of the trade, and he continues to get the better of the trades. Now, once Libic shows up, he'll play a little more defensively. He doesn't want to get bursted down. But Thresh is a relatively tanky character because of the passive he gets, which is you pick up armor from your souls that you pick up, and frankly, it's amazing. He tosses out the random hook, it doesn't land, but it's okay. He can still apply pressure, he can still have his presence shown, and he's going to land some auto attacks. Now, there are some different ways to set up good hooks. One of them is going to be using Flay initially, but we won't be seeing that for a while. I'll point out when it does happen. And here you're just kind of seeing the presence of Thresh. Actually, this is a really interesting fight. Because imagine you're Libic and Makler. So think about what's going on here. Metalix, look at his items. He's got Vamp Scepter, Boots, Doran's Blade. What do they have over on the side of Meet Your Makers? Doran's Blade, Doran's Blade. So more health, but Metalix is getting a lot more HP per auto attack. He's getting an extra 5 actually, which may not seem like a lot, but it's a decent amount. So look how this chase goes down. Libic stuns J-Re. Then gets only the armor debuff onto him, and Makler uses Piltover Peacemaker on J-Re. So Metalix, if he tries to 1v1 Makler right now, he'll win it because he still has all his skills up. And Makler can always retreat, but this would leave Libic in a bad spot. So watch as this goes down. Alright, what if they turn in towards Metalix? Well, if they try and fight Metalix, there's still the Lantern down there. So here you have Metalix, who's completely safe here, and has a shield, and is going to beat Makler in the 1v1. Libic, who can't really chase down J-Re at this point, because he doesn't have the skills for it, and this is essentially a one fight. Like, this is really weird to look at, but this is perfectly played. J-Re doesn't try and fight, he just backs off because he knows Metalix will win this fight, and as long as he doesn't die, he's doing what he needs to do. He's being effective. Karthus also just died, or actually not just died, but came really close to dying, so they're not too worried about his ultimate. I think he does have enough for it. Yeah, just got enough for it, but still, point stands. They were too concerned about it. They knew he'd have a few seconds to charge up his health potion. But that was a really, really good fight from J-Re. And it's interesting that it goes down like that because it's just not very common. You don't see people do that very often. Usually it's you all in or the AD carry and both the support will retreat. But that's just smart play from both sides. Have the support retreat because, you know, he's done his job. He set up a good fight for the AD carry. And they either retreat and take punishment on the retreat or they fight and lose the fight. Now they're gonna keep doing this thing. They keep going for J-Re because he's more exposed. Metalix, I think they're just kind of afraid of his 1v1 presence, but J-Re he does the damage and they have to back off. And this is an important fight. This is just kind of Thresh in a nutshell. He gets focused down. He gets actually ignited by the Taric, and then he just drags him in anyways because he knows he has the range, he has that control, he has that presence. Shen does teleport down there. But, you know, if he does really keep diving Q-Bond, he has Flay up again. It's a 9-second cooldown. That's a ridiculously short cooldown for a spell that is both a pushback or a knockback or push forward and also has a slow attached. So, hell yeah, what did he do there? He took a lot of damage from Tarek, but he did it in such a way that that Caitlyn took punishment in return, and Tarek could get focused down in the end. That's actually a really interesting way to play. And of course, if he's playing offensively, he can still do that. It's just he now has a defensive option versus Tarek. And now Tarek, he did get nerfed a lot recently. This was actually after his stun was nerfed, but the point still stands. There's not really a lot holding Jerry back from just kind of beating Tarek. Now don't forget, of course, that Metalix does have that item advantage. He's level 6 now. Mackler is also level 6, so they've caught up experience-wise, but the point still stands. Guess what? A little bit stronger than Varus, and Varus is honestly just a little bit better in those early 80-game fights. Caitlyn can poke him down, but Metalix will have a little bit more damage and a little bit more influence. Now let's go ahead and see the item build for J-Re. There are a lot of different theories for item builds for supports. In Asia, the trend is Philistone, Ruby Sightstone, Shirley's Reverie, Oracles, and then of course Boots at some point. Europe, you're seeing a lot of people go like this on Thresh, where they'll build towards Runic Bulwark or lock out the Iron Solari, which is also a good idea because Thresh kind of gets in the fray. So it makes a lot of sense. And in North America, we kind of do our own thing. It's actually kind of weird, but support item builds have gotten more stagnant because the truth is, what a lot of the items that supports could build, like let's say Locket, don't necessarily provide all that much. Reverie is still a really good item, and the fact that it's nerfed is just kind of annoying. At least that is a trend worldwide. You're seeing less and less supports buy the other items that are available to them now. No Spooky Ghosts, no Ice Shard, no nothing, just Reverie. But of course that can always change. If you can find new ways to adapt it, go for it. Now, lane pressure continues. J-Re, he really wants to go for Caitlyn. As you can tell, he really can't go for Caitlyn. But he sets up a gank in a right way. This is a different way to set up a gank. It's using Flay first. Use Flay to push someone forward. You can actually almost guarantee a death sentence or just lock them into the box. In this case, Libic actually has a beautiful flash. This flash is amazing. So, in comes a Flay. Libic is pushed forward. At this point, Libic has reduced movement speed, so it's very easy to land a death sentence onto him. He flashes and he barely dodges Varus ultimate and gets out of the box. Which is actually really bad synergy, both the box and Varus ultimate. But the Varus ultimate wouldn't actually last long enough and Thresh would still be stuck in the box. Point stands though, that's a good way to set up a gank. You walk forward, you flay them, and they're forced to do something to get out of it, or get hit by a death sentence. Now let's go ahead. Karthus ult came down, rest in peace. Actually, no, not Karthus, just Karthus gank. But J-Re has to be cautious. He's low on HP, there is a Karthus in the game. You don't want to feed the Karthus. That's a bad thing. It's a not good thing, or at least. But J-Re and Metalix, they know they have a decent advantage in lane. They have that kill, they have an 8 CS lane, which is not massive, but the kill is enough. And Metalix is actually going for Blade of the Ruined King, so he's going to have access to a slow, an on-demand slow, in addition to his other slows. Now, let's go ahead and see J-Re in action again. Oh wait, no, sorry, confusing ganks, I forget. Arane shows up, but the ward coverage is, well, not solid, actually, for Meteor Makers. They suspected something. They knew he was in the area, they expected him to show up, and being pushed without wards is kind of a bad thing. You'll note that they're actually pretty lenient on wards in this game. Like, topside is just completely warded, bot side, not so much. And that's kind of just knowledge of the enemy jungler. The teams know each other really well, and they know that there's not that much chance that Mokate will head bottom, for example. And it's actually kind of the same thing for alternate. They have good indications of where Arane is going to go. And the way it's warded too, this ward will spot Arane, this ward will spot Arane. The only other option is lane ganks, which are actually really effective because of J-Re, but those are hard to ward against. You actually have to ward in this bush or over here, which, good luck with that one. If they had enough map control to do that, then they wouldn't even care about the ganks in the first place. Now let's watch J-Re set up a gank. This is the flay way to set up a gank, what I mentioned before. Walk forward, get the lantern down, walk forward, and flay someone before you go for the fight, before you go for the death sentence. Death sentence still available, actually. And actually, Libic and Mako do a lot of damage incredibly quickly to J-Re. And he's going to be dying to Karthus ultimate. Boom. But they still go ahead, they secure the kill on Tarek, and now Mako is forced to retreat, forced to get out, and forced to die. Rest in peace, Mackler. I hit the right I have to rebind that and see if there's not a way to not do that, because, like, this is not good for doing anything. It's actually very weird to move around in. Looks kind of cool though. Get some good Volibear action. Check out that Volibear. Yeah. Let's go ahead and go back to normal vision. There we go. Ah, one more time. Oh, look, we can see him recalling in the back. There we go. Okay. Let's defend the right angle. So, rest in peace, J-Ree. His team's able to secure Dragon, though. You know, getting 2 kills like that, very, very common and very, very easy to secure Dragon. And we can actually go back into item builds. Now, I agree with the decision to build tanky on Thresh. He builds Sightstone, and he's going to be carrying around a Vision Ward. And that's kind of what you want to do with support. The ward coverage you have is also ward coverage to stop the enemy team. You'll notice Tarek, he actually could not afford a Sightstone quite yet. Has just Ruby Crystal Door and Shield because, well, this game's kind of sucked for him. But he still buys a pink ward. Pink wards are more expensive. You could buy more greens if you wanted to. You could just save the money by 2 greens and not go for the pink. But they want to try and secure ganks. They want to try and secure kills. This ward over here is actually kind of weird because it doesn't really benefit them to pink this bush. If there's a ward in this bush, it means that Tarek can't really do anything, but it does set up ganks for Mundo. So you kind of got to think about what you're going to be doing with those pink wards. Deny vision to set up a gank for Mundo. Deny vision for the enemy team so Mundo can't go around, or clear out wards so that the mid laner can't teleport bot. That's actually a really important one that better and better teams are catching on. So, like, let's say the enemy team has teleports in the mid laner, pink every single bush because you don't want them teleporting to your lane and killing you. Now let's watch J-Ree in action. Because, well, there's a Mundo nearby. That Mundo can kill him. That Mundo can wreck him. Holy crap, it's a Mundo. It's a Mundo with cleavers. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? J-Ree's going to walk by that bush. He's going to walk by that bush. He actually knows it's nobody in the area, so Libic actually has to go in himself. And let's just see some of this kite synergy. Look at that kite synergy. Nope, Caitlyn is almost dead. Libic is taken to about half HP. Mokat is taken to less than half HP. Now, positioning is key here. So we're going to go ahead and go back to before the gank got set up and switch to J-Ree vision. So what can he see? He doesn't see anything here. He doesn't know where the jungler is. The jungler isn't spotted anywhere else. They don't have wards over, actually that many wards at all anymore, just the wards down bot. But if they don't know where the jungler is, can they really do something like they know where he is? No. So they play safely. Now, a lot of people don't do this. They're just like, all right, I'm assuming the jungler's not here, and they'll just fight. And that's something I do. That's something a lot of people do. But this is a smart way to play. The jungler shows up. They actually have Libic forced to flash to get into the fight, and because Mokata is so far away, they don't secure anything. He actually has to flash himself, but the box combined with Varus' ultimate is just so much CC. They're boned. They can't do anything. And I just want to cover the box here. This is a really good use of the box. You can use it to try and trap people, but it's difficult. But as a defensive spell, look at the area it's going to be denying in terms of the chase. So Varus' ultimate does come out too, which is amazing. That's a very good ultimate. Chains of Mokata and then Chains of Mankler, which forces the retreat. But, excuse me, look at the box. So Mokata and Libic are both denied this way to get to the fight. I believe the box does hit Mokata. Do we see the debuff? Do we see the debuff? Yes. So his movement speed is at 110, which is horrible. Ugh. So they can't get past this area. If they want to get to this area, they have to go completely around, and J-Ree essentially just leaves himself open to get to this turret. Now, a really good Thresh ultimate would be somewhere like over here, for example. Because you put the ultimate down here, you can retreat, you can use it offensively to try and catch people who are still in the tri-bush. But it just denies a huge space. If you are not someone with a blink, or you want to burn flash, you cannot cross this bush. You cannot get across this area. Here it's still pretty effective because there's not many options and they're so close to the turret, so Mokata would have to go totally around, which is enough time for Metalex and J-Ree to easily get out of there. Once the box goes down, especially with Varus' ultimate, but even the box on its own, that would actually probably secure that gank. But once Varus' ultimate goes down, or not secure that gank, but deny that gank, but once Varus' ultimate goes down, they're completely safe. Part of this is that they are very, very healthy. They're doing very well in lane, with a 13 CS advantage and, of course, the now completed Revolver and BF sword. So, they're powerful, they're looking good, and they play their lane very defensively and very well. And now that they've seen Mundo, they don't really care. So Mundo's low on HP now, doesn't have his ultimate. Just go ahead and do whatever the hell you want. as Libic does show up, but can't, or not Libic, but Frelnord does show up, but they can't do anything. Jerry also tanks a turret for the aid of Frelnord, who just has to grab that lantern and show up to the fight again. Well, show up to the lane again. You don't want to stay in this area. It's a bit silly. I can go ahead. I can actually fast forward a bit. No, the box has a massive cooldown. Actually, let's talk about the box, because I think it's a very useful spell. It's less cool, I'd say, than his other spells, because frankly, if all his spells were as cool as, let's say, Death Sentence, it'd be just stupid. And it is already a little bit stupid. But how does the wall work? It has the 6 walls that are spawned around him, I believe. I really want to say 6. Every time a wall breaks, it deals 250 damage to the first guy who goes through, and then 125 afterwards. The slow is 99% for the first time, and the slow is still 99% afterwards, but it only provides half the slow. Wait, what am I saying? It's 250 damage the first time, 125 for walls after that, 99% slow for 2 seconds the first time, and then 99% 1 second slow the second time. So that 110 movement speed Mundo still shows up. You still have the 110 movement speed, just for less amount of time. It's essentially a root. Like, you still move. You move really slowly, but the root effect is still in play. Rest in peace, Derek's Ward. Now, the box does have a delay on it. And of course, it's super hard to aim because you don't control where it lands. You just put it around you. So if you land a Death Sentence, you can usually teleport to someone and put down the box. And if they don't have flash or if they don't have a blink, they will get hit by it. Now, if you don't do that, if you just try and put it down, you have to use it more of an area denial tool. You can't use it effectively just on someone. It's hard to do that. And if you can do that, cool, you're a really good player. But most of the time, it's going to be just difficult to do. So think of it more as a either defensive denial or a follow-up tool. Now here's Libic. Libic is in a bad position. But he's fine. Except not. This is a case where there's not much Thresh could have done there to help out the gank. He puts down the lantern, which means someone can teleport to him. They, shield some of the turret damage, but, they had that already. Most supports wouldn't be able to help that. Janna would provide the movement speed for them chasing, and Tona could provide some movement speed on the way in, but overall, that's just something a support was not meant to help with. Whoops, hit right click again. Now, Mankler, he's done for. They don't have any ward coverage because of Tarek's death. Once the turret went down, you'd want to start warding defensively. Ward over here, actually ward over here, and then ward over here just to keep your jungle completely safe, and then possibly ward this bush too to make sure you don't get ganked. But that couldn't really happen because they just did not have the time for it. So they're able to go ahead and secure the kill on Caitlyn, who didn't push too far forward. Now, Sarah's going to be dying, and this is just kind of what the team is doing now, roaming around as a group. The Lantern's always down in case someone needs to make an escape, which, for example, there it actually helps out Aaron get out of Karthus' defile, and Thresh is going to be his supporty self. Looks over the wall, helps kill blue buff, Jerry's just being a good support. Now, he could use some pink wards for this dragon here, but they know that Tarek's been so out of commission for so long, and plus they also just had the advantage anyways, that it didn't matter if that was warded. Now watch as I fast forward into the fight. Let's watch how this fight goes down. So I can drink some water. Do you see the denial? Do you see that denial there? Do you see this denial? Do you see this denial here? Look at this denial. Holy crap, look at everything that got denied there. Aaron's still in the area, but it doesn't have to be. But look at what Thresh does here. He actually denies 2 teleporting ultimates. Now, let's talk about lantern placement, because lantern placement is so damn important, and it's actually very hard to think about. So, here comes Aaron, he's going for the gank. Jerry, he sees the Shen teleport come in, and he puts the lantern right here. Now, let's point bad places he could put the lantern on. He could put it on Libic. But, if you can't right-click on the lantern, which champions are really, really good at blocking, then Aaron could not right-click on the lantern, and he'd be at risk of dying to Shen. So a good lantern placement is going to be somewhere where your ally can easily click it. Now sometimes you don't always have that choice. Sometimes you just got to put it somewhere. And wherever it goes, God bless you, good luck. Here though, just watch how easily Aaron can click it. That's easy, yay! Now this wall placement, like I said, it's really good for area denial. Chario gets hit immediately, back down to 110 movement speed. And the rest of the team, if they want to keep chasing, they have to go around this wall. So watch what the wall causes. Libic has to go around. Mackler has to go around. Sharu actually just goes straight through it because by the time he finally is not being slowed to 110, the wall's gone. Point stands though. He was forced to not chase effectively, the enemy team was forced to not chase effectively, and they lose control. Now it's time for Varus to cut. Still, the fill comes out. They're trying to kill this turret. They do kill it successfully. They're actually too high up. Taunt comes out, and this is actually a really bad fight for alternate. They should not have stayed in the area. They should have not fought in the area. Aranate will be surviving. Jerry does take that bullet like a champ, but oops. They just oopsed is all I'm going to say. Because Katarina is still pushing a mid lane. It's actually totally worth it if they take out mid turret. Because that's a super important turret. Except Karthus is home guard boots. Anyhow. Back to this incredibly silly play. Yep. They died there. They had no reason to die there. Anyhow. Mid lane does get taken out, by the way. And actually, front line was about a Colchario. Come on. You can do it. You can make it out. 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 You actually can't make it out, by the way. You thought I was joking? You thought you couldn't make it out? No, front line's a really good Katarina. And actually, that's actually just kind of sad to see that cleaver miss. Because that cleaver, I don't know if it would have killed. It would have killed. Oh, hell yeah, that would have killed. Actually, no. Katarina would have had the HP to survive that. But point stands, it would have slowed, given a chance. And Mokate, just, he took the gamble, and the gamble just did not pay off. Makes you sad. Anyhow, back to Thresh. So, this is a good point in the game for Thresh to leave bot lane. Tarek's done the same thing, but the point is, you want to leave bot lane when there's not a reason for you to be there. So what's going on? What's Varus doing here? Farming. They got ward coverage here. As long as he doesn't do something stupid, he's okay. And they have a good feeling for wherever he is, because a lot of people retreated. They had 2 people top lane. Varus is safe, he can push out far. Now he's going to be helping his team out. He helps keep mid lane from dying, which you want to keep these turrets alive as much as possible because they open up so much of the map. And very importantly, he's a threat now. Before, if you were just hung up bot lane, then he's a threat to whoever's in bot lane. Now, he can roam around a lot, he can place wards a lot, there's going to be more map coverage in terms of wards because Thresh is available to ward. There's going to be more presence of his hooks because he's going to be there to hook. Also, he missed a CS on a cannon minion, and he should feel bad about that because, my god, that CS is so good. It's like 50 gold. Now, you gotta remember that as Thresh, you are OP as hell, but you don't have escapes, you're still a support, and this is just an example of what can happen. He puts the box down, it does actually land on both Tarek and Karthus. Doesn't matter at all, though, because you get slowed by the wall, and frankly, Karthus, even though he gets hit by the box, you can just take him out anyways. Libic gets taken out in response to this, but Thresh, he dies for very little. However, his team is so good and so far ahead, they can very easily fight with that. Like, not a whole lot was blown killing Thresh in that first fight. Which is why, the team with Karthus and Karthus Ultimate are actually able to come out 4-4-4, despite being behind by 8,000 gold. It's very, very important. Supports, I gotta say, they do have an issue where sometimes they seem to show less things that will win a game. Like, you just don't see it as much sometimes. But you can definitely see a support lose a game. And though Jerry got cut out there and it was 1-for-1 in terms of supports, it did set up a really, really weak fight for his team. His team is ahead by a lot of gold. They shouldn't be dying to someone like that. But without Thresh's hook to help the team defensively, it just kind of became watch Karthus and the rest of the team kind of trickle in and not a whole lot happen. Like, Thresh is manly as hell. You can do a lot on Thresh. You can not care about so many different things on Thresh. But you still have to be cautious, you still have to be careful. While the box is an amazing CC, for example, it doesn't really stop someone like Karthus from killing you. Because, okay, you put down the box, they can still kill you through just queuing over the box. It's like, same thing with Lux. Lux is a very good example. Because if Lux tries to kill you, chances are it's not going to matter if you put the box down. Because you're just getting hit by that CC anyways. Now, let's go ahead, fast forward a bit. Get to see some more J-Re in action. In team fights, Thresh actually has very different roles. You still want to use Death Sentence for the hook. It's usually more of a defensive option, though. Like, you can catch someone out at the beginning, do it. But you want to try and, protect your AD carry or grab one of the front liners and just kind of disable him. So, for example, here, he doesn't use Death Sentence on Libic or Cubon. because they don't matter. Alright, you hook Thresh, or not Thresh, you hook Shen, you hook Tarek, who cares? Now, Mackler and Mokata are good choices, but at this point, he lands at Q, his team's not actually in the area to help him, so why do it then? So he's holding on to this skill, even though it doesn't have a long cooldown, it's up to 12 seconds at max rank. He's still being very cautious about it, he's still making sure that he doesn't do anything too silly, and costs his team the game, costs his team a kill. Katarina is in the bot lane, does not have teleport up to, so they don't want to go for a fight like that, where it's going to be 3v4, because they've already lost a 4v4, why fight a 3v4? You'll note too, he popped oracles, and this is something that a lot of supports are doing. Now the reason for this is, let's go ahead and switch to the Meet Your Maker's vision. They don't actually have any wards down, but if they did have wards down, you know, you'd have one here, you might have one here. It's very easy to sweep them out. And in a game where there is so much ward coverage available because of Sightstone, having an oracle to clear out wards like that is so important. You control the game, you control the map, you control everything, and you just get to be a bomb nerd bala who just struts around where he pleases because they can't see you. But oracles are getting more and more common because, for the same reason they were common in Season 2, it's a really good item. Even if the supports have to buy it every 5 minutes, they're buying it every 5 minutes. And actually, Thresh already has Aegis, which, you know, he wants to upgrade that to a bulwark eventually because of Karthus, but it's still really effective. Now, Thresh here is using himself more defensively. He actually misses the flay, but point stands, he's really not trying to do a whole lot. He lands a beautiful hook though on Caitlyn that does really nothing besides CC here before the fight starts. But still, it actually forced her to be defensive. It forced her to play farther back, and they're able to pick up kills because Caitlyn just couldn't be in the fight. Also, they're hit by a lot of gold. Now watch that hook. Watch that hook because that hook actually, it's a very good example of what can happen with Thresh. So his projectile is tricky, to say the least. And it's not as wet as Blitzcrank hook, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a pretty good thing in this case. Because watch how the hook goes out. Watch how it goes in between seemingly everybody. Mackler, he's far in the back. He is not an easy target. But it's thin enough where it doesn't pick up Mokata on the way in. And it has that really weird angle where it kind of catches Mackler anyway. So it's big enough to kind of squeeze in those tight places. Or small enough to squeeze in the tight places, but big enough to still, you know, kind of be a big presence to hit people. That's a really important hook. It's actually kind of silly because the fight really hadn't started, but it still forces Caitlyn to play further back. And, you know, you're getting hooked like that as the fight goes on. They need every single 88 auto attack they can get. Now, unfortunately, Karthus home guard boots with flash up. Rest in peace, Jerry. Rest in peace, RNA. You guys didn't stand a chance. He does land the hook onto Mackler, which doesn't actually do anything. But they're just fighting right now. They know they're in a bad spot. They know they kind of messed up, and Karthus is just doing his Karthus thing. Whoops. This is also kind of showing that the enemy team has major threats still, and that despite being down 10,000 gold, Charu can carry. But, you know, 10,000 gold is 10,000 gold. That's a big number. Oh, actually, you know what? There's no way in hell I'm not showing this fight, because this fight owns. Alright, here's Singe 1v3ing. I'm not even going to say anything, because this is just beautiful. Yeah, baby! It ain't no 1v3. Katarina's got teleport. And also, death. A lot of death. Nope, because she's got Shumpo and wards. By the way, Frontlo's knows a really good Katarina. I might do a video on his Katarina because he's a really good Katarina. I really like Alternate. I actually think Mim's a better team, in all honesty, but Alternate's got a lot of spunk to him. Now, Jerry lost the Oracles. He buys a lot of pinks now. He's got what he needs. He's got the Aegis, or the Bulwark, which is going to be a super useful thing against Karthus. They start doing Baron very quickly, too. Now, this is kind of a unique choice because they know the enemy team has both Katarina's teleport down, and they know she was low on HP and had retreat. But they still do it anyways. And it's just kind of a sign of their manliness. Now, does it work out? Well, let's see. Yes. Because no one expects this Baron. Now, look at the enemy's team's vision. I'm going to make sure Baron hasn't been started yet. So Baron got started right after this. They have no vision of this area. This is actually super bad on their part. No wards here, no wards here, no wards there, no wards anywhere. They just do not have the knowledge here. And the animations we can see, they can't see. Now, part of this is because they just lost 2 members, so they're still respawning. However, Shen, Caitlyn, Mundo could probably stop Baron like this. It's not a very good Baron. Varus, though, shows himself mid lane, and he even gets pinged. This is a really important showing, because if you see an AD carry mid lane, if you see someone who's really good at killing Baron not in the Baron pit, you assume they're not doing Baron. You make an assumption just based off circumstances, which is common. It's actually what you should do in most cases. You should always kind of make some assumption, just be like, well, I'm playing with the knowledge I have. This seems to be the situation. They're actually even trying to set up what looks like ganks on this Varus. But guess what's going to happen? He's going to get Baron buff and just walk right away. They see the enemy team pick up Baron of buff, of course, because of Varus grabs it. And they actually get a really good chase onto J-Ree, who takes a lot of damage. But he puts on the box and still gets stopped by Caitlyn. Whoops. And it actually sets up a terrible fight for alternate, as they just get picked off in the worst ways possible. It was just a really bad spread. Aaron, does he make it out though? Yeah, he does. Cool. He did it. Of course, enemy team can't pick up Baron as well. There's actually a problem alternate is having. Karthus, with his build, he went Leandry's Rylai's, which is not the highest in the game, but has really good sustained damage, and it works very, very well with Defile, because it's just AoE hell. Part of the problem, too, is he wants to stay alive in these fights, but, well, it's not necessarily working out. I want to show, actually, the Singe burst. This was post-Singe nerf. Look at how much damage he does to Charu. This is a very interesting Singe build. It's one that I don't really recommend, so I don't know enough about it to really talk about it. Because this is super high level Singe, because that is 300 AP and not as much tankiness as you normally expect. But just check how much damage he ends up doing to Charu. He flashes, flings, Charu's almost taken out by that. The turret is also hitting him now, and then he dies to Katarina, but honestly he was probably going to die to Singed anyways. This just gives a chance for Katarina to kill everybody. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Cat. Go Cat. Go Cat. Go Cat. Now, you'll notice teamfights have been kind of weird for Thresh. Eventually, it just reaches a point where he dies. The reason for this is that Thresh kind of sucks at not dying in teamfights. If you go in offensively to use the box, for example, you're probably going to die. That's the thing that you have to realize as Thresh. You have really good utility, you have really awesome things to start fights with, but once a fight goes in, you either auto-attack or you use the box and die. And obviously you want to try to not to die. But it's not really avoidable in a lot of cases. And that's okay. If you're dying but you're sitting in perfect fights, that's perfectly fine. That's actually really good. If you're helping your AD carry in the back though, that's something that's very easy for him to do. Flay is really, really good. Because it is slow and a knockback, so use that skill. We're going to go ahead, fast forward a little bit. This game's actually almost done. He's just tossing out the hooks. He's missing a lot of hooks, but this is kind of like Blitzcrank late game where you just keep tossing out hooks, you keep applying pressure, and if they miss, that's okay. Because you still scare them, you still apply the pressure. If they hit, you can win the game. Winning the game is pretty good. Kind of the point. And that's just the threat he has. If you land those hooks, they're pulled in, not, the Blitzcrank distance, but enough, and they're CC'd for long enough where it's definitely scared of the enemy team, and they might react to it and try and start a fight. He picks up the Oracle again, and this is, like I said, the trend. His team is getting a lot of income, so he has extra money to spare, so he buys a Negatron Cloak to have more magic resist and trying to stay alive longer, because their team does have a lot of magic damage. I feel really bad for J-Ree because his hooks just do not land. But they're effective. But you actually see the problem with hooks as Thresh. They have a very long cast time. That cast time is insane. 0.5 seconds. Most spells don't have that long cast time. I think it's like 1 second for Ezreal's ultimate, and that's explicit. So realize that Thresh, it's going to be always hard to get a lot of the chase hooks, for example. But just do it anyways. Apply that pressure. or watching this again, don't worry. Okay, so that's the main part of the fight over. This is Thresh in a perfect Thresh team fight. So Katarina dies. It's no Shed, no Katarina. Katarina is also very important because she deals really high damage and actually has a really good item build. Now, J-Re playing Thresh. He auto-attacks the inhibitor. What is his presence in this team fight? Now, he sees Mundo coming forward, and Karthus is right there. He can't hit Karthus because of the creeps right there. Mundo is not really worth hitting. He puts down the Lantern, which he uses completely defensively. He knows no one's going to teleport to him. Like, what good would that do? Like, run away and teleport back in, that's all they could do. So, he just lays down the shield to hit him, Volibear, and himself and Volibear. Because it's the most convenient thing for him. And, like, Kerp might run through it, might not. Now, this is something really cool here. He doesn't really go in for the fight. He just zones. Like, he almost auto-attacks Makante, but he wants to land a Flay, very importantly, and a Death Sentence onto Mackler. The reason for this is, Mackler is a very good target for it, and he's kind of forced to attack. Unfortunately, Mackler is also really good at killing him, and he actually decided to protect Metalix instead. That's what the Flay is used for. It's used defensively to make sure Makante can't go forward. That was a push forward, not a knock back. Then the hook comes out onto Mackler, and he actually gets a Q onto him, which follows up as he flashes away. Fortunately, he didn't have the Flay up, but he still gets the damage there. He still shows himself there and gets the auto attacks, which help out a lot. Like, he's in range to help Flay and keep him CC'd. His presence in team fights is going to be much more subtle outside the hook than most supports. Just because what you see him do, it's usually a lot of CC. It's a lot of either short CCs with a Flay or the very, very strong slow with the box. And slows actually show up quite a bit, but you know, brief knockbacks, brief push forwards aren't that obvious. And that push forward was actually very, very or that knockback against Mundo was effective, like just zoning him out, keeping him far away. At this point though, big gold lead, who cares? Game's over. Rest in peace Varus, the turret killed him, and there's not a whole lot to say at this point. We can just watch the Nexus go down, as Kerp is awesome. So is Fallen Lord, but that was just balling by Kerp. J-Re also has no HP. Shouts to J-Re. Also, actually, I have to give credit to both teams, who are just very, very funny in chat, and very, very cheerful and playful. Okay, so that was Thresh in a nutshell. Now, Thresh has a lot more going on. Flay, we didn't really cover a whole lot. I showed you how to use it, for example, in the ganks, but I didn't really get a good chance to show it defensively. That's because your ability to use Flay is going to depend very... Oh man, I'm forgetting how to speak. Your ability to use Flay is going to change depending on the situation, of course. In this game, they were mostly farther ahead, so that situation was, well, we're farther ahead, let's just use it offensively, or get it away from Varus. That's a way you can play Thresh. You can just protect the AD carry, which wasn't really being done this game by J-Re because his team was so frontline and offensive. But had it been, let's say, a Tristana, you could have just saved Flay and just used it on the back line or the front line that dives in. Like, get away, protect Tristana, you're good. Thresh works with almost any AD carry in the game. You're going to want to use them with people who are more offensive in lane, of course, but Tristana works because she can naturally push and get herself into a good position for Thresh hooks. Caitlyn works because of her high auto attack range and her high pressure. Really, the only people who wouldn't work would be like Ashe, and that's because Ashe is just not the most all-in type character, but she still wouldn't be that bad. Actually, she'd still be pretty damn good, because even if it's Ashe, guess what? You hit level 6, land an enchanted crystal arrow. You can follow that up very easily with the death sentence, chain them in, pull them in, do your thing, do your thing. Now, yeah, sorry about the delay in making this video, guys. I mean, I really don't have anything to say about that. I just kind of goofed with that. I'll be doing some more TSM European Invitationals next week. You guys should watch it. I believe they start at noon PDT, which I think is either 7 or 8 CEST. But I'm not positive because daylight saving teams is whack. Well, that's all for now, folks. Adios. I hope you enjoyed this video, and watch the Chinese League of Legends scene. Just saying that because it's hard to do because not many people do it very often because it's just not that well exposed. But find it somehow. Adios, folks.